Welcome everyone for live from the studio. Today I'll have René G. Boscio and we'll talk about modular synthesizer, music, movie making, etc. So let me launch the intro. Hello everyone, I'm with René. Hi René, how are you doing?
Hey, good. How are you, Frank?
I'm doing good. I see a lot of people join us. Forestine, Meaty Okra Music, who's on the Periscope, I stream on Periscope, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. So, we're from Twitter. I've got Schmuster, Sensor Music, Modect, Malarkey. I'm going through the list. Madin Arnaud, Alex Barnett, Anna Ogban. Hopefully I haven't. Everyone. Welcome home everybody for the show. And the peronosphora. Wazar. Right. Okay, let me do a little bit the news and the usual stuff. There's something be free. Alright, everybody know about my site, peachymango.org. Go have a look there for everything. I'd like to thank all my supporters on the Bandcamp. So if you want to become a supporter, that would be awesome. It's a little bit like Patreon, $20 a year. Allow me to do this show, music, etc. Talking about supporter, recently I did a redacted show with a bunch of friends, Alex Barnett, Electric Kitchen, Alphaster, Malarkey, Eschaton Larke. And instead of posting the video, so Electric Kitchen recorded the video and the performance of each one. And instead of posting the video to YouTube, I wanted to try an experiment. The video was relatively small in size, so I uploaded it to Bandcamp as a video accompanying a track. And this is for my supporters. So if you want to have a look, and I'll see how it works. Doing a change from the usual posting. Alright, maybe I should give the link. I think so. Here is a link, and the track is called Redacted. Yes. And I didn't wear my redacted tee. But I've got a nice modular synth. Okay, what do I have next? So I just put online the next resident electronic music. So if you want to sign up, it will be on Tuesday, December 8th at 8 p.m. Welcome everybody to watch, but if you're an artist and you want to sign up, there's a sign up form. You need to make a piece of music which is about 20 minutes long, upload it on YouTube as an unlisted video, and then fill up the form. You can fill up the form and come back later with a YouTube link. And we'll all have a watch party together. Alright. All these events are a little bit with the Left Coast Light, as Alphaster is saying, so let me put the link. So we've got a Discord server for Left Coast Light. It's all the community on the left coast. And so LCL, that's a Discord invite. So if you want to join us and ask more questions about modular synth, electronic here in the Bay Area or all on the west coast. Another event, it's a PIC. I'll give you the easier link. I think it's supposed to be next Wednesday, but I don't know who's going to be on the shows. Keep a watch, be posted. The other show that there is the Sonic Sunday, which is on the third Sunday of the month at 5 p.m. And this is done by Sonic Alliance of Fez, who's one of my co-conspirators. So have a check. What do I have next? I saw that also Sandfest is doing, call it, Drone Day, and it's on Twitch and it's happening right now. So once you finish, you can head there to on music, and it's all day long, and I think it's going to continue also. Here you go. What else did I saw? So I saw Light Bass has got released a pre-order album. I think it's coming out on the 11th of December. If you like Light Bass, please pre-order. I see Dylan Sang also joined. I think Dylan Sang is going to be on the Sonic Alliance. next Sunday or the one third Sunday of the month. Talking about light bass. Then also I just saw on the news that Alessandro Cortini just released a new album. And if you don't know the news, he has been inducted to the Hall of Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as part of Nine Inch Nails. That's his new album. I think I'm ready to talk about René. Here we go. So let me move to this screen so we can see you in big. Jungling with all the control and everything.
Yeah.
Right. Meteor Crime Music is Are We Going to Jam? So the performance will be at around 11:30. So we'll talk a little bit about René, and then there will be a performance from René, and then a bit more. Okay. So please hang up for the nice music before that. So, René, who are you?
My name is René, and I'm from Puerto Rico originally, and I live in LA now. I've been here for about 7 or 8 years, and I do music. I'm a composer for film and television primarily, and I've been into modular for about 2.5 years now, and since then I've slowly started hanging out with all you guys, and my life has been a lot better. So
that's cool that Modular Synth is bringing you. I think also it's very nice to have this community online and to have some social interactions.
Yeah, and especially now, during this whole year, that's been very distant from from my usual friends who I would normally see who have nothing to do with modular. It's been nice to have this sort of online community to kind of like keep you company, so.
I was showing your IMDb entry with all movie and TV that.
Yeah.
So if you have got some questions for René, just put them in the chat and I will relay. So how did you get into music, or when did you start? What's your origin story?
Yeah, origin story. I think I started playing drums when I was about 11 years old. I used to skateboard during my youth, and through skateboarding, I was also into skateboarding video games, in particular one called Tony Hawk Pro Skater, and they had a pretty cool soundtrack of a lot of punk bands and stuff like that. So I got really into Blink 182, pop punk band, through that, and I wanted to be like Travis Barker, so I started playing drums. And then shortly after that, I picked up guitar like a year later, and that's when I first started kind of like writing my own material, because I didn't really, I was kind of self-taught, just kind of like teaching myself chords, and then I was like, oh, if I play them out of order, then it becomes my own thing, And so I started just kind of like making up my own songs, and spent all of my teenage years just playing in different rock bands, anything from like keyboards to guitars to drums to singing to whatever the band would let me do, many different bands and different genres. And so that was something about myself that I guess has kind of like always carried through with me, is that I've never been good at sticking to just one genre. I've always liked the versatility of exploring whatever kind of music I'm interested at the moment. And so when it came time to go to college, I knew I for sure wanted to do music, but songwriting wasn't really much of an option in Puerto Rico. So I ended up going to a classical music conservatory over there to study proper classical composition. And so that whole thing with like getting to know the orchestra for the first time, and learning to write and studying classical composers slowly led the way to a whole different landscape of music that I didn't know before. But because I still had my roots in pop rock and all that kind of stuff, I started paying attention to film music, which to me was kind of like a blend between the two of like, you know, it had a lot of pop rock like commercial influences, but it was like an orchestra playing rock, so to speak, you know, or things like that. And so I kind of felt that film music was where my voice as an artist and a composer belonged. And it would also kind of like challenge me to be versatile in as many genres as I could. So I just felt like that's where I belong. So, and yeah, just kind of concise.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
Take your time. It's interesting to see where you come. As
Yeah.
so, yeah. So, um, I think you started to move to Los Angeles to get into the music movie.
Yeah. So the way I came to LA was a year, like the year after I graduated from the music conservatory. This Hollywood composer did a film scoring workshop over there. He flew with BMI to do a 2 day workshop, and the administration of the conservatory knew that I was interested in film music, and that wasn't something that they particularly taught at the conservatory. So they gave me a call and they were like, "Hey, this event is happening. If you want to come participate, you know, you're more than welcome to." So I went, and the composer's name is Blake Nely, and so he kind of gave us some homework during the workshop to do overnight, and then he ended up being kind of like impressed with the homework that I did, so to speak. And long, you know, like we stayed in contact after the event because he was like, "Oh, I want to see if I can help you somehow because I think you have what it takes." And so we just kind of stayed in touch. And after a couple of weeks, he asked me if I wanted to fly out there and kind of like do a 1 week internship with him. And so you know, he flew me out, and then I just got to hang out with him and sit on his couch and just watch him work. And it was kind of like a very eye-opening and mind-blowing experience. And we got to go to Warner Brothers and like do recording sessions, and I got to meet his other assistant and all that. And so by the end of the week, he sat me down with the other assistant, and they were like, "Hey, we're actually like looking for a second assistant, and we kind of like your vibe. So if you're interested, the job is yours." And so I was like, yeah, yes, please." And so I flew back to Puerto Rico, kind of like settled everything I had and packed my bags and moved out to LA and started working for Blake. That was in November of 2013. And so that was kind of like how I got my in on Hollywood, so to speak. And so I worked for him for about 3 years, doing everything from like assisting in the studio at first to eventually writing additional music on all the TV shows that I'm fortunate to have the credits for. And so after that, I started kind of freelancing and going my own way of like navigating the film industry. And, you know, fortunately, because I had those credits in my pocket, it allowed a lot of filmmakers to kind of like take me seriously when this random person would just write them an email and be like, "Hey, I want to score your film," you know, and they're like, "Who are you?" And I was like, "Oh, well, look at my credits and give me time."
Yes.
And so, you know, it helped a lot. So I'm very grateful for him and for all that team. And I learned a whole ton. That was more school than any master's or doctorate that I could have gone and pursue in terms of, you know, how to get things done and how to get them done well and efficiently. Just because the TV schedule is like very fast paced, so that really kind of like set the tone for how I had to work and all that.
Yeah. So you well, when you reached to me the first time, you spotted the Spotify playlist that I have. You know, so your email was very well written. And I follow you with John Owell's Modular World.
Yeah.
You're on the left coast, and that's where I invite people. just reply back and say, hey, I've got this show. It would be so awesome if you
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I was very grateful to you. Like I said, yeah, I mean, when I got into modular, your playlist, like I mentioned, was the first one because I was like, how do I find modular artists? Because, you know, I wasn't aware there was this whole community of everybody. So I just went on Spotify and Googled modular, and I think your playlist came up. And I always look at how many followers the playlists have to know, like, to kind of gauge whether, like, it's worth my time or not. And I saw, like, oh, this has a decent amount of followers. So, I'm gonna go check it out. And so once I started listening, I was like, yes, this is exactly what I was looking for. And so when my EP was coming out, I was like, all right, this is the guy I want to reach out to see if I can somehow get in on this playlist. So it was kind of like full circle for me to be included in that playlist. So I'm very grateful.
Yes, and if you're in a modular synth and have something on Spotify, just send it to me. My criteria is that it needs to be done with some modular synthesizer and less than 10.
Yeah.
And it takes me like a couple of weeks to make a choice. Yeah, so before I ask, you know, did you get into modular? I think peronosphora wanted to ask if you work on the Mandalorian.
Oh, no, that's Ludwig Göransson, who's an amazing composer. I love what he's been doing on The Mandalorian, but no, I have not worked on The Mandalorian.
So how did you get into modular?
So I've always been interested in synthesizers in general. Ever since in my teenage years, I had this little like electronic music kind of like side project, which was more so like ambient. And that was actually a track from an EP of that project was what got me my first film scoring student project when I was a student at the conservatory. But I never, you know, once I got more properly into film scoring, when I was working over at Blake's, like the pace was so fast that I didn't really have time to like learn new instruments, so to speak. You know, it was kind of like using the tools that were available. So like I would always use a lot of Omnisphere, a lot of Zebra from Uni and all that stuff. And so I always knew I wanted to somehow transition into hardware synthesizers. So one day I was kind of working on this project and I was like, all right, I'm just going to treat myself. And I went out and got a Mother 32, which was kind of like the first semi-modular synth. And so that kind of like started allowing me to see a different world of like actually having the knobs and turning them and figuring out patch points. But a few months after that, I ended up getting a bigger project that had a decent enough budget for me to hire other people. And so initially, because of the scope of the project, that project was called To Your Last Death, and it was going to be very like electronic, heavy and kind of like industrial. The references were like Saw, you know, like Charlie Clouser's Saw scores and that kind of stuff. And so I had been digging into what him and Trent Reznor and they used in their scores, and I came across this company called Folk Tech, and I ended up buying a mescaline, which is, you know, a very strange instrument. So I went from a Mother 32 to a mescaline. And so I'm sure you can imagine my mind was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And so one of the reasons I ended up buying the mescaline was because I came across this YouTube guy who had really cool mescaline videos. And so when my schedule for that movie was cut in half, I ended up reaching out to him, and his name is Adam Ricci. You guys know him by Our Domain, probably. And so I hired him to do a lot of mescaline and other modular samples and loops for me to use in this score. And once I started seeing and hearing the stuff that he was sending back to me, it just kind of became an obsession where I was like, all right, I definitely need to properly dive into this whole world of modular synthesizers. So that was kind of my push through him. And, you know, I would bug him a lot after we finished working, like, oh, so if I want to do this, what module should I get or what? And so he was very patient and kind to like kind of like walk me through, oh, try this out or look into that. And so that was kind of my in, so to speak. And then once you peek through the door, it just kind of like, it's like a vacuum that sucks you in and you can't ever look back. So
yeah, they call it gear acquisition syndrome.
Yeah.
It's a common stuff. You buy a case and then you've got plenty of holes and you fill it up with module, and then you buy the module that doesn't fit the last hole and you have to buy a new case.
Yeah.
So
it's been, I've actually, I had upsized, and then I decided it was, because I'm a composer primarily, I'm not like an artist, performer, or modular artist or anything like that. It got to a point where I was getting distracted by my obsession with modular, and it was actually distracting me from my actual composing work more than it was serving as a tool. So I decided to kind of like downscale a little bit, and I started selling a bunch of things and ended up buying a Moog one instead. So I was like, I'm going to get rid of a bunch of eurorack modules and I'm going to really focus. And I was like, oh, look, a new synth. Let me get that. But I feel like that purchase kind of like was different in the sense that it's there. I use it, when I need to. I'm not obsessing over like, oh, maybe if I sell this part of the Moog one, I can buy this other part, it's different. But yeah, so I downscaled and so now my eurorack kind of like consists of, I've always focused my rack on being as versatile as it can, just because of, I use it more as a tool for composing. So I make sure I have like an analog complex oscillator, a simple analog oscillator, a digital oscillator, and then a variety of filters, just so that whatever sound I'm going for, I know I can get it from it, and so it's also very focused on one layer at a time kind of thing. So that's why when people ask me like, hey, do you want to do a performance? I'm like, I don't have enough VCAs. I can't do it.
And then it's like,
yeah,
not enough VCAs, like in a rock, not enough Cobel.
Right. Well, yeah, because like I said, because it is built in like a single layer at a time kind of thing. Maybe I think maybe 6 VCAs total. So it's like, for a live performance, that's kind of like, that's not that much. But yeah.
Yeah, no, it's, I don't know, Modular Synth taught me a little bit sound design, because I hear a sound and get an idea of it's made.
Yeah.
Doesn't teach me how to put them together, but at least can hear a sound and I say, that's an idea. I could do something. Which is nice when you go to something like a Moog one, where you've got a ton of preset. Interesting part is to be able to start from a blank patch and make your sound.
Yeah, no, to be honest, when I got the Moog one, the first thing I did was like go through all of the presets to kind of like familiarize myself with what it could do, or what the factory wanted you to kind of think it could do. And then, I saved whichever ones were my favorites. But after that, I haven't really gone back to them, because I just feel like it's such a powerful tool, just starting from like an init preset, that it's like, it's just such a playground that it's like, why would you want to just limit yourself to the presets, but it takes time. It's not as immediate as synth as others. Because like, for example, I used to have the Prophet Ref 2, which would sit on my desktop, and that was very quick to just like boom, 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 and it's like there. But I feel like with the Moog one, it's kind of like a commitment to go over there and sit and be like, all right, let's dial something up, So that's, for some people that's a plus, from others it's a con. But yeah, it's a beast.
I'm just looking at some of the comment. Also, don't forget to subscribe, like, and update the couple page, camp, and right. Please follow him also over there. I'm looking on some of the comment. I think people like your skateboarding and punk music. I see also that there was, and I think he say he's also half from Puerto Rico. I don't know if you spoke
Oh
with
yeah,
Alphaster.
yeah. I think he mentioned that in on the Modular World comment. Yeah. Um, yeah.
And and thanks for the shout out for Take and also our domain. Yeah,
Nice.
Modect join HR Terror also. HR Terror say he likes the Your Last Death album.
Oh, nice.
So, how do you approach? I don't know, making music for movies, and how does it work? Shows. Or is it
In
different from?
general,
Is it different from composing for that? Like,
yeah. So like, if you're talking about like my EP versus a movie score, so to speak, it's very different. The main difference is that like if I'm working as an artist on an album for myself, I'm writing music for myself. Like there's nobody to answer to. It's kind of like a creative outlet of like what is the music inside me that I want to put out into the world, and it's very self-centered, self-fulfilling kind of thing, um, which I feel like as artists is necessary because I don't know if you or other people are like me, but it's like there's music in my head all the time, so it's like it has to come out. But with movie scores, I'm writing music for in the service of somebody else, in the service of someone else's story. There's the filmmaker, the writer, the producer, whoever is kind of like the lead creative of the team, and they have a vision and a story that they're trying to tell, and I'm only there to help tell that story. So when I approach writing music in that scenario, is very much about trying to understand what they're trying to communicate with the movie and figuring out what's missing visually from it, that the music then can add and enhance and help deliver that message more clearly. I
so,
don't know if that kind of makes sense. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, no, that makes sense. And at one time in the process of making the movie that you start to.
It always depends. Usually, more often than not, it's towards the later part of post production. So like once they've already kind of shot the movie and are either almost done with editing it or already finished editing it, that they'll then look for a composer, which in my opinion is often a little too late because by that point they're like, oh, our deadline's in a month, so hurry up, we need it done. So more often than not, that's when it'll be like towards the end of the process, and then I'll jump in right away and we'll have a spotting session, which is like we'll watch the movie together and kind of like decide where there needs to be music. If there usually there's already it's already if it's been edited when I come in, there's usually music in there already, kind of like temporarily. And we'll discuss that and see if what the reference there is doing kind of like has at least the right intention of what the filmmaker wants, and what we take from it, what we don't. And then I get started writing music. But other times it can be as early as the pre-production phase. So, sometimes filmmakers who know they'll want me to score their films before they've even started filming, we'll get in touch and we'll start kind of like discussing ideas. And at that point, I might write some music for them beforehand. But at least at the scale of projects that I've been working on, that's very rarely the case.
Malak is asking, like, on the TV schedule, how much does a director or any other creative in on the score?
Are you saying weigh in terms of input or weight in terms of time?
No. Well, in terms of input, on the TV schedule. So,
input, yeah. So
how much they
TV,
decide, how much they, how much they decide
yeah,
what you're composing.
yeah. So on TV is interesting because directors come and go on TV shows. Like the directors usually direct 1, 2, or 3 episodes of the entire season, and it's the showrunners who are really the creators of the show and have the most input. And that, in terms of the amount of input they give, really depends on what season you're in, so to speak. You know, if it's a new showrunner, or if it's a new showrunner and composer relationship where they're working together for the first time, the input might be more hands-on, you know, where you do spotting sessions together and then you kind of like talk. And the thing is that it's usually, because the schedules are tight, you just kind of like talk whatever you're going to talk on the spotting session, and then 7 to 10 days after that you're turning in the music to the mix stage. And if you get any notes, the notes will happen during the final mix when they're mixing dialogue with music and all that stuff. Then they'll get back to you and you'll have to do those revisions like right then on the spot to send it back again, and it becomes this ping pong thing of like that whole day essentially. But if it's a relationship that's already been in progress for several years, you get to know the person, and so you kind of like get to know what they like and what they don't, and what their taste is and what they're trying to do. So it becomes more trusting, and the less notes you usually have to get or give, because you just kind of get each other, you know? So.
Yeah, no, yeah. I don't know. I've always followed. I remember the composer Eric Serra was been doing all Luc Besson's and you see the
Yeah.
yeah, from the beginning. If he makes a movie himself as a director, that's his composer.
Yeah.
That's interesting, but it's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
I see that Kate Auch joined. I see Tangle Wave. I see Calip Duarte. Welcome. We're getting about half past, so I think it's time for your performance.
Okay.
Do you want to say something about it, or I just launch it?
No, I mean, I guess the only thing maybe worth saying is that I am not a performer. So, and this is my second time doing any sort of performance. So just be graceful.
No, I watch it. It's very fine, and we all do that. This live performance in front of people.
I'm no, and I'm lucky that my two performances have happened during these times when it's not actually in front of people, because I think I would have a meltdown if that was the case. But I think it's a good way to slowly start getting my feet wet. So yeah, no, we'll talk more about it after for sure.
Yeah. I remember for my first one, like it was like 5-10 minutes. So focus on making sure the right button are turned at the right time. And after I started to relax and put some emotion into my performance a bit. All right, let's launch it. And we'll continue to talk after. Don't forget to subscribe, like, follow, you know the drill. And if you've got any questions, then ask them in the chat and I'll release them too. Here we go. Oh, that was really awesome. Thanks, René. Really
Thank
nice piece
you.
of music.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with René J. Boscio and very nice stuff. Everybody on the chat, I think you are monitoring the chat on YouTube too. Really like it.
Thank you.
Mm.
Yeah. It was. I wanted to go for something a little more laid back this time because I feel like the Modular World performance was a little stressful for me because I had like 7 or 8 different sequences, and I was like jumping from one place to the other and trying to keep it like very like new segment every couple minutes. And this time it was like election week. We were all like pulling our hairs, and I was like, no, I need to just kind of chill. I need to just chill. So I ended up, doing like these little, um, I like having these smaller cases that I can pull modules from my main rack from and then just have like very focused systems. And so I have been working for a while on putting together kind of like a sound processing box in that Moog 104 HP case, where it's just more so focused on recording and looping acoustic sounds, whether it's like that acoustic cuatro, which I saw some people were asking about. It's a Venezuelan cuatro, this little guy, um, or the electric guitar, or the acoustic guitar, or my voice, or whatever, and then and just kind of like creating loops and building on that. So I just got the Luba from Instro like a week or two ago, and so this was kind of like my exploratory jam with it, so to speak. So and that's another thing. It's like because I'm usually pretty tight schedule wise, it's important for me to learn the tools that I have so that when I need to use them, I'm not wasting time learning them when I need to use them. So I was like, I'm also going to take this jam to kind of get to know the Luba a little bit. And same with the OM1 from On Magnetique, which is the cassette synthesizer, little gray box I was playing. So it was really built around exploring those two instruments primarily. But at the same time, I also very intentionally wanted to not have sequences that I had to keep track of. So there was no main clock keeping a tempo that had me stuck to anything. It was just very free flowing, just very kind of like, let me just go with it, and wherever it takes me, that's where I'll go. So it was very, very interesting and very different approach than to the other single one performance I had done before that. So
Yes, indeed. Oh, and it's really nice. I don't know I don't know. In the beginning, it was making me think a little bit. Arrival movie.
oh, I love that. Yeah, Johan Johansson. I miss him. Like I didn't know him personally, but it's like I could only imagine how much he would have kept pushing the envelope on film music. But, yeah.
With a Soma of a awesome weird noise machine.
Yeah.
That brought the texture nicely. Swapping, making a break with by bringing the quattro slash Spanish guitar.
Yeah.
Really nice, and then back to it with a little bit of melodic. It was the nice repeat, and then very relaxed.
Yeah, so that's something that I do a lot, which I think some people also noticed on the Modular World performance, and it's something that comes across in my compositional work a lot too, is that I like writing in like an ABA kind of style where like I'll have an introduction, so to speak, then I'll have like an A section where I'm doing some idea. Then I go to a B section, which is usually fairly different than, or at least it'll have some elements or textures from the A section, but it'll be focused on something else. And then I like to recap that A idea and kind of like make it come full circle so that it feels like a whole experience, kind of like encapsulated into one. So I tend to just do that as my style of writing a lot.
And it's also fun. When I learned modular, I learned to slow down because It's interesting what you say, learning the instrument sometimes. Or I would like to play with this technique on the tool.
Yeah.
I get it, then.
Yeah. So for example, with the Lubat, that's, I did the setup the night before. And then that evening, I just kind of sat down with the electric guitar, which you saw on the frame, but I didn't use in the performance, but I used it the evening before, and I started messing with the Lubat, just like recording phrases both on the cuatro and the electric guitar, and slowing them down, pitching them down an octave, and seeing how they would play in reverse, and figuring out, because I knew I wanted to jump between the play speeds and the pitches. So I figured out some kind of patching so that I would randomly but fairly frequently switch between playing an octave below recorded speed, the recorded speed, and an octave higher, both in reverse and back and forward. So those things I kind of prepped the night before. Unfortunately, because Lubat has the storage system, I was able to just save them into the storage, and then when I flipped it on the day after, those loops were still there, and so that's kind of like where the performance started from, and that's why the electric guitar just kind of sat there, but you hear it on the loop of the Lubat that I had recorded the night before. And because I was like, there's no way I would waste 20 minutes on a live performance if I decided to try that, to do that live, and figure out like, oh, let me punch it in right, because it's also hard to like punch in and play. I need to get some sort of like pedal. I saw, what's this? Ritual Electronics is coming out with some 1U pedal to CV converters, which will be helpful to be able to just like hit a sustain pedal and kind of like trigger the gate. If I need to. So anyway, yeah.
There's a couple of modules or them also your modular node.
Yeah.
But yeah, also I saw your first performance. So your first performance, I see also this one, like when I rehearse, I can rehearse my whole piece in 5 minutes, but when I perform it, I'm in like 20. It's a part that I've learned, just slow down. People have never heard this sound before. Part, so I've heard it like 20 times already, so I know what it is. So like I need to move. When you perform, it's all about getting slow and let people enjoy that part for a while before.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm not like that at all. I like time my rehearsals to be like, okay, I'm at 12 minutes. No, I need to stretch this a little more. Just because because I'm not comfortable enough yet, I feel like I need to have everything rehearsed. This was a little different, like I said, because this one I only had like, I had the main kind of like melodic lines in my head, but there was obviously room to improvise with the melodies and stretch them and whatnot of like where they were going, and I wanted it to feel more of like a performing of like actually playing in melodies, whether it was with the lyra or the OM1 or the cuatro, which kind of allowed me a lot more freedom than if I was like trying to slow down an LFO or like repeat a sequence half the time or something like that. I'm not that comfortable with improvising on the modular as I am improvising on instruments that allow me to play a melody or something like that.
Yeah, and it's sometimes a different experience because there's a lot of improvisation. And I think so. You know what the sound is doing, and what knob will change, and then it's a question of deciding when you want to do it.
Right.
I perform with my phone with a clock on it, so I know where I am into the time that I have.
Right.
But it's just to get a reference, but I decide my change based on how I feel at the moment.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Yeah, so I see a few people I think join and say, like I saw Reid also joining, Mod Decked. Caleb also is listening it on the road, so that's cool. Do you have any I don't know, tips about patching something, or special modules that you like? Or I think your discovery was the Instro.
The Instro is my latest acquisition. Actually, no, I just got the Morgasmatron. It's nothing new. The IntelliGel dual filter. But I've been really loving driving the resonance on that for that kind of like MS-20 inspired style filter. But yeah, no, the Instro, I've been exploring it a little bit. I haven't had that much time to play with it, but I'm kind of like leaning more towards doing this whole kind of like doing more of like Latino influenced film music, but like with contemporary elements such as like electronic and modular stuff. So I feel like that module is going to be very instrumental in like me, playing phrases and just kind of like creating textures from them. But I don't know. In terms of tips, it's like I guess it all depends on the style of what you're doing and what you're going for, So like it's a very like functional non like synthesis tip, but like what I tend to do a lot is like always record everything I do like stemmed out as much as possible. So like, if I have an eight channel recorder, so to speak, like I'll just patch stuff directly out into the recorder so that when I record them in my DAW, whether I'm jamming or creating some kind of layer, I have as much flexibility later to like edit those parts and then process them further, and I'm not like married to like, oh, the kick and the bass were in a single layer here and the kick drum was a little too loud and now I can't do much about it. Just something silly like that. But the other thing I love doing, which is probably a more so tip, I love audio rate modulation. So like I love not for this ambient stuff, but some people who follow me on Instagram might know that I do dab on like the industrial harder kind of stuff every now and then. So for that kind of stuff, I always love usually, so like if I have an aggressive oscillator that will go into a filter, I like taking a second output from the oscillator and sending it into the FM of the filter so that it's like being modulated by itself, but I can dial in how much of the audio is actually like distorting the signal, so to speak. So that's something I like doing a lot. Again, nothing major. I've only been doing this for 2 years, so I'm still just kind of like scratching the surface of like how deep you can go with techniques and all that stuff. So
yeah, but you've got your all your musical background experience that's helping.
Yeah,
helping you out.
Yeah. And again, I view it more so as a tool. The same way that I would view a guitar or a piano or something like that. It's there for when I'm working and like working on my scores and I'm like, I need this. And I look around the room and it's like, oh yeah, the modular can help me get that. And so I'll go and start patching to get that. But yeah.
And yeah, I think we talked a little bit. What was the inspiration of the
Yeah. I mean, I kind of, yeah.
Yeah, there was. We reached a little bit the top of the hour, so that's when I started to wind down a little bit. So,
sure.
What are your upcoming projects?
Well, I mean, something that recently passed, I realized we haven't, so I'll just give it a quick shout out, was the EP. So I put out my first kind of like modular EP or any sort of artistic release other than film scores last month on October. It's called If We Seek With Intent, and so that's out on Bandcamp and Spotify and Apple Music and anywhere. But so right now, in terms of work, I'm finishing up 2 movies I've been working on for the past 2 months or so. One is a Honduran comedy film, and the other is a Puerto Rican kind of like a coming of age pseudo musical thing, very inspired on like trap and hip hop music. So that was very fun to do. I used a lot of the easel command for that. Surprisingly, you're like, what, the easel bukla on hip hop and trap? It actually fits in quite interesting, especially for all those plucky kind of things. And then I used the analog rhythm a lot, which I was kind of like getting to know for like the trap and hip hop beats. And so right now, next week, I'm seemingly going to be starting another movie, which is a movie from here from LA on the States, it's kind of like a Latino immigrant boxer movie. I'm still not officially on. We haven't signed papers for it, so I don't want to kind of like say something but I mean, we're having a spotting session early next week, so I'm guessing it's seemingly a go.
Yeah.
So I'll be working on that for the rest of the year. And I was just recording some samples. I was doing a noise engineering sample pack this past week, which I'll be editing whenever I find the time to like go through everything I recorded and start chopping stuff up and further processing them. But you know, a noise engineering sample pack is in the near future as well. But yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, no, that's cool what noise engineering is doing, and yeah, I think Mary is also running the artist area of noise. I recall.
Who?
Mary. He used to, if I'm not confused on, he used to organize a Mockfest. Part of the organization of.
Nice.
Which he does with the artist community.
Nice.
So that's cool. Yeah. And I posted, if you seek with intent on the chat, so you can get it on Bandcamp. I try to promote Bandcamp because indie artists, that's better. Spotify is a little bit the...
Well, on Bandcamp, you get the booklet too. I did a little PDF booklet to accompany the album, which you can only get on Bandcamp. So that was fun, like putting together kind of like a behind the scenes of like what inspired each track and what instruments I use for each one and all that. So yeah,
I'm showing your discography on the Bandcamp.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, I'm going to go back over the news and leave you his word for the end.
Sure.
The change, so all be together. All right. So pitchymango.org, that's my site. Please, I want to thank to all my supporters on Bandcamp. Me to do these shows and make music. Release it. I've released a video that was from a show that we did last weekend. It was called Redacted. Alex Barnett helped organize it in place. There was so Alex Barnett, Electric Kitchen, Alphaster, Malarkey, and Eschaton Lark. And Electric Kitchen recorded the show and provided video to each. I know Electric Kitchen and Alphaster posted it on YouTube, but I decided to put it on community on Bandcamp. In part also to test video streaming from Bandcamp. If you want to look at it, here it is. Encouragement for YouTube. Put on baimproviser.com, which is here next resident electronic music. Someone just told me that the form to sign up is the wrong one, so I'm going to fix it just after the show, and I'll post it later on Facebook. Yeah, post on Baimproviser. You've got Peak, which is coming next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Watch this space. You've got Sonic Sundays, which is on the third Sunday of the month. That's at 5 p.m. That's on Twitch. Wanted to stay on Twitch also. There is a B-flat festival, drone music, etc. So Twitch TV. Everything needs to be in a B-flat. Here we go. I need something right now. So I saw that Light Bass has has released or is releasing a new album, and it's in pre-order, so it'll be out on the 11th of December. Look. And I saw also, Friday you get all the message from Bandcamp about new release, kind of a modular world. Alessandro Cortini new album. He was just inducted in the Rock Hall of Fame as part of 9-inch Nail. So, I was with René. That was an awesome performance. It's very nice for you to have been on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I'm going to take a break from the show for a couple of weeks. I need my weekend, and I'm planning maybe to come back on the 19th of December. Need to do a studio teardown and build it back. Plus some other stuff, so you'll see. But I think the next show will be on the 19th of check my move, and so small break. Everybody relax, enjoy the Thanksgiving, all your weekends. René, I leave you the word for the end, and just after that, I'm gonna launch my outro.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, just thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me on the show and for putting my track on the playlist and for encouraging me to do another performance. And yeah, no, I mean, I'm grateful for the whole modular community and how much support there is to go around. So yeah, I look forward to more virtual hangs together, and hopefully in person soon-ish, whenever it's safe.
Yeah, I hope so. I put the invite for the Discord channel for Left Coast Light. So thank you very much, René. Thanks everyone for watching the show. You'll have time to click subscribe and like and follow and all. Follow René on Bandcamp. Thank you, everyone. See you in a couple of weeks. Bye, René.
Bye.